It's hard to talk about because it was one of the moments that defined my fear in life. I want to talk about the day that my mom almost drove me, my sister Tylee, and herself off of a cliff. Around the age of 8, my family was going through a lot. My mom felt like we had to get away. We were going to see our family in Arizona. On the drive that is right through about El Paso, Texas, touching into New Mexico, there's a long, scenic area where there's nothing but cliffs. It was an emotional time. My mom got a phone call, and the police called and said, "You need to turn around and come back immediately." There's a situation with my sister where she had to be presented to the police. And as we knew we were hours and hours and hours away from our home in Texas, she started to panic, cry, and get angry. I remember being in the car. I remember playing my Nintendo DS. I remember just waiting because it's such a long trip. And you're just waiting and waiting and waiting to get there. After my mom, Lori, lost it, I remember just the moment quieting, the car quieting, and me refocusing on my game. One of the next things that she said out of her mouth was one of the scariest things I have ever heard anyone say. She looked into the mirror into the back. Then she looked out through the windshield. She looked at me. She looked back at the road. And she said, "What if we just drove off this cliff?" As we were going up at an incline. I remember my heart racing. I remember asking her, "What are you talking about?" I remember her again repeating the sentiment. What if we just drove off the cliff and stopped all of this? I remember the fear that I felt, that my life was in danger now. I went from playing my video game on my Nintendo to a life-threatening situation. There was nowhere to pull over. We were in the mountains. I remember her looking back at my little sister, and my little sister, who was 2 or 3 years old, looked back up at my mom in that rear view mirror and said, "Let's do it." My little sister would do anything that my mom had asked. I remember begging my mom, "Mom, please stop the car, let me out." I remember my first thoughts being, what if we don't even die? What if the car gets stuck on a cliff and we're all stuck? What if everybody else dies and I don't? Or vice versa? What if my sister doesn't die? There was just so many thoughts flooding and thinking that your mom wants to commit a group. And I remember that moment changing me.